one of those lawmakers. GOP Louisiana Senator John Kennedy joins us right now. Senator, great to have you on the program. Tell me about this resolution, and in particular, Senator, I would love to know, what would this resolution accomplish? What can you force the Biden administration to do?
Well, you can lead a man to the presidency, but you can't make him think. What our resolution is intended to do is try to get the Biden administration to focus on those issues that moms and dads are worried about when they lie down to sleep at night and can't. Things like crime, things like the border, inflation, the baby food shortage. I don't know if it'll work well for two reasons. I think most Americans understand that in its first 14 months, the Biden administration has not exactly rocked it. Why is that? There are two reasons. Number one, the president, I think, has delegated an enormous amount of his responsibility to his appointees. Number two, who are his appointees? It's a interesting mixture of two groups. Number one, he has a bunch of uber Washington insider elite types who mentally haven't been out of Washington mentally for more than 10 minutes in their lives. They think Washington is America and America is Washington. And the second group that he has running the show, there's some overlap, I would describe as the crunchy granola types who like to attend gender reveal parties. I mean, they're very, very woke. And they're just not focused on the issues that are worrying ordinary Americans right now. I'm not saying they don't believe in democracy. They say they do, but they really believe in government by experts. And they think they're the experts, and they're smarter than ordinary Americans, and they're more virtuous, and that everybody ought to shut up and listen to them. And if we're nice, they'll let us eat meat occasionally.
I love your two categorizations. I would correct you on one thing. I think gender reveal parties most Americans go to, and the gender studies department would reject the gender reveal party because, hey, how can you know if it's pink or blue at birth? You got to wait and let their kindergarten teacher.
May I give you an example, Will?
Actually, Senator, that's what I wanted to ask you. Give me an example of both. I'd love to know an example of the elite and the crunchy granola you described.
Well, let me give you an example of how this works in practice. We know we have a baby food shortage. We know that at least part of the problem originated months and months ago with the Food and Drug Administration. Here's what the president ought to do. He ought to call in the top 10 people at the FDA, and he ought to say, number one, what happened? And give them about 20 minutes to explain what happened. And then the president ought to turn to the top 10 people at the FDA, and he ought to say, you have 10 days to fix it. Now, I can promise you at least one of those top bureaucrats is going to say, oh, Mr. President, you don't understand. It can't be fixed in 10 days. We need a bunch of consultants and experts. That's the one you fire. And then the rest of them will fall into line. Now, that's what would happen in the real world. That's not what happens in Washington. It's easier to divorce your spouse in Washington than get fired. And that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, you know, and you said there's overlap, by the way, and I think you're right. And the fascinating thing would be, in order to help identify the problem, where do each of these government bureaucrats fall? Are they the elite, deep state, have been here forever, and U.S. is Washington crowd, or are they the gender identity studies crowd? Either way, it adds up to the same thing. It gets nothing done. And, for example, on the southern border, we continue to set records, not the kind of records you want.
It's dangerous, Will. Last year, it's killing people. Last year, we had enough fentanyl come across the border to kill every American 7 times.
That's, again, exactly right. Not the records we want to be setting. We'll be looking for that resolution and what it can accomplish. Senator, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.